The annual Evans family dinner at Cirque was a tradition steeped in judgment and backhanded compliments. Crystal glasses clinked as my sister Victoria held court, her diamond bracelet catching the light with every dramatic gesture. And then, she announced to our parents, Sterling Corp's stock jumped another 20% after my proposal. The board practically begged me to take over as CFO. She turned to me with that familiar patronizing smile. "How's the receptionist work going, Emma?" Still answering phones at that little investment firm. I took a measured sip of water, ignoring the way Mom and Dad exchanged their usual disappointed glances. My simple black blazer felt out of place among their designer wear, exactly as I'd planned. "Actually, I'm an executive assistant now," I said quietly, playing my part. Victoria laughed, the sound drawing attention from nearby tables. "Oh sweetie, still fetching coffee for the big boys? You know, with your economics degree you could have done so much more. Remember when we both interned at Sterling? I became CFO and you?" She gestured vaguely at my modest attire. "Victoria's doing extraordinary things," Dad chimed in, his pride evident. "Sterling Corp is becoming a powerhouse under her leadership. They're even talking about expanding into Asian markets." I nodded, checking my phone discreetly as it buzzed. The message made my lips twitch. "Acquisition complete. Press release scheduled for 8 p.m. "Emma, put the phone away," Mom scolded. "Just because you work as a secretary doesn't mean you need to be on call during family dinner." "Sorry," I murmured, noting the time, 7:55 p.m. Victoria reached across the table to pat my hand. "You know, I could put in a word at Sterling. Maybe get you a better position. Something more ambitious than answering phones." "That's thoughtful of you," I said, taking another sip of water. "How are Sterling's quarterly numbers looking?" "Magnificent," Victoria preened. "We're about to announce our biggest quarter yet. The CEO is thrilled with my performance." "Speaking of performance," Dad added, "your sister's being featured in Financial Monthly. Rising stars under 40. When was the last time you read a financial journal, Emma?" "This morning, actually." I checked my phone again. 7:58 p.m. Victoria rolled her eyes. "Reading your boss's schedule doesn't count as financial literature, darling." "I was actually reviewing acquisition reports," I said softly. "What would you know about acquisitions?" Victoria scoffed. "Does your boss let you make copies of the big important papers?" My phone vibrated one final time. Wall Street Journal alert posting now. "Actually," I said, reaching into my briefcase, "I know quite a bit about acquisitions. Especially the one that closed 20 seconds ago." "Emma," Mom sighed, "please don't make up stories to compete with your sister." I pulled out a thick manila envelope just as Victoria's phone chimed. She glanced at it, then froze, her perfectly manicured hand shaking slightly. That's impossible," she whispered, staring at her screen. "What is it?" Dad asked, reaching for his own phone. "The Wall Street Journal," Victoria said, voice trembling. It says Atlantic Global just acquired Sterling Corporation. But that's impossible. We would have known." "Check the CEO's name," I suggested quietly, sliding the envelope across the table. Victoria's eyes widened as she read aloud. "Atlantic Global CEO Emma Evans, 32, becomes youngest female banking chief to complete a major acquisition." The crystal glasses rattled as her hand hit the table. Your new boss," I finished, opening the envelope. "Actually, former boss. Your termination papers are right here. Effective immediately." The silence at our table felt like a vacuum, broken only by the distant clink of silverware from other diners. Victoria's face had gone from shocked white to furious red as she frantically scrolled through news alerts on her phone. "Atlantic Global," Dad muttered, adjusting his glasses as he read. "Largest private banking acquisition of the year, $8.2 billion deal. Spearheaded by CEO Emma Evans." His head snapped up. "Emma." I straightened my simple black blazer. Armani, though they'd never noticed. "Remember when Victoria got promoted to CFO at Sterling? That same month, I became the youngest board member at Atlantic Global. Last year I became CEO. But you're a secretary," Mom stammered, wine glass frozen halfway to her lips. "No," I corrected gently. "I was evaluating Sterling's operations personally. Best way to assess a company is from the inside." I turned to Victoria. Your employees are quite chatty around the coffee girl. Especially about creative accounting and inflated quarterly reports. Victoria's hand clenched around her phone. You spied on us? I did due diligence, I replied. Those Asian market expansions you bragged about. The numbers didn't add up. Neither did your last 3 quarterly reports. How dare you, Victoria hissed. I built Sterling's financial division from smoke and mirrors, I interrupted, pulling out more documents. Would you like to discuss the offshore accounts? Or the misreported earnings that somehow always lined up perfectly with your performance bonuses? Dad reached for the papers, but I held them back. Those are for the SEC now. The SEC? Mom whispered, her face draining of color. Don't worry, I said, checking my watch. The press release only mentions the acquisition. The fraud investigation will be quieter. Victoria stood up so abruptly her chair scraped across the floor. You can't do this to me. I'm your sister. Sit down, I said softly. You're making a scene. A scene. She laughed hysterically. You just destroyed my career. You destroyed your career, I corrected. I'm just cleaning up the mess. Though I must admit, I added, allowing myself a small smile, buying your company was particularly satisfying. Emma. Dad started, his authoritative tone falling flat. Surely there's some way to. The deal is done, I cut in. Sterling Corp is now part of Atlantic Global. And Victoria's creative accounting methods are being reviewed by our forensic team. My phone buzzed again. The board meeting starts in an hour, my actual assistant texted. Victoria sank back into her chair, mascara smudging as tears formed. How long? She whispered. How long have you been planning this? I thought about all the family dinners I'd sat through listening to her boasts. The Christmas parties where she'd mockingly offered me entry-level positions. The countless times she'd reminded everyone that she was the successful sister. Remember 5 years ago, I said, when you told the entire family I was wasting my potential as a bank teller? I was actually closing my first billion-dollar acquisition that week. Mom's wine glass tipped over, spreading red across the white tablecloth like blood. All this time, you were running a major bank? The 3rd largest private banking group in the country, I confirmed. Though after today's acquisition, we'll be moving up to 2nd. The maitre d' approached our table looking concerned at the spreading wine stain. I handed him my black card, the one Victoria had always mocked as corporate expense account. Dinner's on me, I said, standing up. Consider it a severance package. 3 days after the family dinner, I stood in my corner office on the 60th floor of Atlantic Global Tower, watching Manhattan's skyline glitter in the morning sun. The Wall Street Journal sat on my desk, our acquisition of Sterling making front-page news. Banking's silent queen. How Emma Evans built a financial empire in secret. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. Ms. Evans? Your sister is here. Victoria entered, looking drastically different from the polished CFO of last week. Her designer suit was replaced by casual wear, her perfect makeup absent. Security cleared me up, she said quietly. Though I guess my credentials are worthless now. I gestured to the leather chairs facing my desk. The forensic audit is complete. And? Her voice trembled slightly. We found everything, I said, pulling out a file. The manipulated earnings reports. The offshore accounts. The kickbacks from Asian investors. I closed the folder. The SEC is very interested. Victoria's shoulders slumped. Are you pressing charges? That depends, I replied, sitting behind my desk. I'm prepared to handle this internally, if you cooperate fully with our investigation and return all improper bonuses. You're protecting me? She looked up, confused. Why? I studied her for a moment. Because watching you destroy yourself wouldn't be satisfying. This way you get to live with knowing how badly you underestimated me. My phone buzzed. The Asian markets were opening. Victoria noticed the alert and laughed bitterly. All those times I bragged about Sterling's global reach, she said. Meanwhile, you were actually running a worldwide financial empire. She gestured around the vast office. How did none of us know? You never asked, I said simply. You were too busy telling everyone how I'd failed. How I was just a secretary. It never occurred to you that I might be something more. Mom and Dad haven't stopped crying, she said. Dad's golf buddies keep asking about the secret billionaire daughter they never knew about. Karma's interesting that way, I observed, standing to pour 2 glasses of water. Would you like to know when I decided to buy sterling? She took the offered glass. When? Last Christmas. You announced your promotion to CFO by giving me a book called Moving Up from the Reception Desk. I smiled slightly. I was in the middle of negotiating a merger with Swiss Global Bank. Victoria's hand shook, water splashing slightly. I remember. You said you had to leave early for a staff meeting. Board meeting in Geneva, I corrected. I closed the deal at midnight and was back for Christmas dinner the next day. You spent the entire meal explaining basic finance terms to me. A fresh tear slid down her cheek. I was so horrible to you. You were, I agreed. But now you have a choice. Sign the cooperation agreement, return the money and start over. Or face the SEC investigation alone. She stared at the document I slid across the desk. What happens to me after I sign? You'll be barred from C-suite positions for 5 years, I said. But I've arranged a position at our Singapore office. Middle management. A chance to earn real success this time. Why would you help me at all? I walked to the window looking out at the empire I'd built. Because true power isn't about destruction, Victoria. It's about having the ability to destroy someone and choosing not to. My phone buzzed again. The morning board meeting was starting. Victoria stood, clutching the signed agreement. I'll never underestimate you again, she said softly. No, I agreed. You won't. As she left, I adjusted my simple black blazer. The same one they'd dismissed as cheap at dinner. My assistant entered with the morning reports. The sterling transition is proceeding ahead of schedule, she reported. And the family banking details you requested? I smiled slightly. Move their accounts to our premium service. Waive all fees. Very generous, she observed. No, I corrected, picking up the Wall Street Journal with my photo on the cover. Just good business. After all, success isn't just about making money, it's about earning respect. Through the glass walls, I watched Victoria walk to the elevators, her head bowed. Sometimes the biggest victory isn't in crushing your opponents, but in rising so far above them that they're forced to look up to you. The morning sun caught my nameplate. Emma Evans, Cirque Atlantic Global Banking. Below it sat a small frame, the only personal item in my office. Inside was a worn business card, Emma Evans, Reception Desk. A reminder that every empire starts somewhere and the best revenge is living well.